So we need to have certain infrastructures for conducting this particular check truncation system. So unless you have these systems with you, it is very difficult for you to implement this check truncation. So let us talk about what are the hardware should be available in order to implement this particular facility at the branch level. We need to have a PC, there is a computer with a printer, and we need to have a scanner, and we need to have a network connectivity, because unless you get connected to the NPCI and Reserve Bank of India and with other banks, it's very difficult for you to conduct this particular CTS. The configuration of scanner will depend upon the volume of checks. See, the scanners are coming in different strength basically. One particular scanner can scan around 100 checks per minute, or maybe 50 checks per minute, or 10 checks per minute, something like that. So there are scanners which are available in very speed scanners which can scan the check images, so that it will just pass it on to NPCI, thereafter to the paying bank. If you look at, there is an example, approximate capacity, we are talking about 30 documents per minute. So in a minute around 30 documents are being scanned, so that these checks will move faster. How the image is moving to the other bank, and how the NPCI is being involved in this activity, all that we will discuss one by one in the coming slides. Okay. So basically, as far as the infrastructure is concerned, the branch which is handling that CTS transaction need to have the computers with the printer. They need to have scanners according to the number of checks which they receive, or the number of transactions they handle. They need to have a high speed scanner with them, and the network connectivity need to be on always, and it should be very seamlessly it should be in place. And the configuration of scanner also will depend upon the volume of checks. That's what we discussed. There are certain scanners where they can just scan 30 documents per minute, and with the high-speed scanners, still more on that. See, even though you scan the document, it not only gives the image of the check, it also goes deep into it, and it will give the entire details of the check, so that the branch which is receiving this image should be in a position to go through all the columns in a check. See, we saw certain features of a check in our earlier slides. Start with the check should have a date on it. The check should have the payee details, which is to whom the check is being payable, and the amount need to be written in the figures as well as in words. Then down below, the customer's account number needs to be mentioned over there, and apart from that, the person who has issued the check need to be signed correctly. That is, he is the drawer, right? He has to sign it correctly. So all these features need to be available in the image. Then only the branch which is receiving this particular image may be in a position to check correctly whether the check is in order, whether we may able to pass this particular check or not. All those decisions can be taken by the paying branch depending upon the clear image of the check. So hitherto, if you look at in local clearing, we have been giving the actual check to the other branch, so they can see the check, they can feel the check, and then accordingly they can decide whether to debit the customer or not. But since only the image is being passed on to the paying bank, one has to be very careful, and then the image should be very clear and neat in all respects, so that the paying bank can take a decision. Apart from that, even the branch which is scanning this check need to check this particular image before they authorize the transaction to move on. So what happens, once you scan the check, some authorizing official has to sit and see the image, and he has to ensure that the image is moving on smoothly, and this particular check has got all the features, so that the paying bank can just make the payment. Okay. So further on CDS we will just go through one by one. Let us continue with the CTS, that is check truncation system. We have seen now the introduction of CTS and what are the hardware required for CTS. Now let us just move on one by one. See, the CTS the image of the payment instrument, that is maybe a check or a demand draft or a pay order or a banker check, is captured along with the MICR data simultaneously. This MICR data is basically required to reconcile all your clearing activities. So while this system, when try to capture the image of the instrument, whatever it is, maybe a check or a draft or a pay order, it also takes care of the data with regard to MICR. Then this clearing process is completed based on the electronic data and image of the checks. Then the settlement, with regard to settlement, the settlement will be generated on the basis of current MICR code line data. That is, whatever you are just scanning it, that instrument has some MICR number. From that number, the data has been collated, captured and then collated for different purposes. That one more point also which needs to be noted here is that the images, that is the check image, is being preserved by the system for about 8 years, which is very vital, because for any clarification or any doubt or any fraudulent activity, this particular image is very helpful for the bank to identify where it went wrong or is it correct or not. Those stuff you can find out from the image. So it has been archived for about 8 years, and whenever you want, you can just archive it and then see. It is a centralized agency per clearing location will act as an image warehouse for these banks. So for example, we spoke about the service branch for different banks. We took the example of State Bank of India, where State Bank of India has about 300 branches in Chennai alone. So each branch will not do this check truncation process, because it is very costly and time consuming process, because checks can be drawn from various places. So what the bank did was, they have a centralized place called service branch, and that service branch will collect all the checks from the city branches and then do all this activity. In that branch, they have this particular image warehouse also, so that whenever they need, they can retrieve the data, and then whatever action they want to take, they can take. And public key infrastructure will be deployed to protect image and data flow over the network. So these are certain features of check truncation system. Okay, so it is it is basically very systematic system, wherein that you just send the image. While capturing the image itself, the system will take care of not only the image part of it, but also it takes care of the data analysis part also. And the system allows us to keep the image for about 8 years, and each bank has its own centralized place where they can keep this particular image warehouse, and also do this activity instead of doing it in different branches. Let us just move on. Let us see what are the benefits of check truncation system from the bank's perspective. As far as the customer is concerned, the customer gets the credit on the day immediately when compared to local clearing, because at the end of the day, you will come to know about your check fate, whether it is getting cleared, whether I am getting the payment or not. Whereas in the local clearing, you will come to know only the next day. So that way the customers are benefited. And similarly, let us have a look on how the bankers are getting a benefit because of this CTS system. To start with, it is improved handling of post-dated checks deposited by the customer, as the images can be scanned and stored, and the system can automatically process the scanned image on the due date. Are you able to follow what we are trying to say? See, for example, what happens, sometime you get a check from your customers which needs to be deposited in a future date. For example, if today is the 9th of July, one corporate customer submits some 50 to 100 checks which needs to be deposited in their account only after a week's time or after 3-4 days. So when you have the checks, even without waiting for the day to come, you can still scan it, and the system will take care of when these checks needs to be presented in clearing. That way it is very useful to the bank, so that the bank need not keep these checks pending for a particular date. So as and when they receive the check, the the people who are attending this particular CTS can process these checks, and the system will take care of when these checks needs to be presented in clearing. That is very useful to the branch people, so that they can save a lot of time on that, and they can need not they keep this checks in a safe custody, because once you complete this process and the image has been captured in the system, the checks can go to record. Okay, then improved business intelligence system can be put in place. Yes, naturally, you have better intelligence systems in place because of the CTS, and you need not worry about writing this summary of number of checks presented manually, or you can through a system. This particular system is only one system which takes care of your imaging part of it as well as accounting part of it. Then introduction of new payment system products like e-checks. That is true, because if you present a check in clearing in your account in a branch, the check need not travel to another branch because it stays over there, whereas only the image of the check is being sent to the paying bank. So in that way, only the electronic mode is moving from one branch to one bank to another bank, and the hard copies are being kept in the presenting bank itself. So the movement of check is being totally curtailed, and there is no manual intervention. People need not carry the check from one branch to another branch. So all those activities have been stopped now. Only the image is moving from one system to another system. Then we can talk about better funds management. Yes, naturally, because you get your funds quickly from the beneficiary, so that not only the bank uses the funds in a better way, even the customer gets the money immediately. Better management of space and manpower. When we talk about space and manpower, this particular system requires only a computer and a printer and with a scanner. So it will not take much space. Whereas if you look at in a clearing processing center, for a bank like SBI, you have at least a minimum strength of 100 plus people in place like in Chennai. The team is replaced by this particular system. So you have a manpower saving as well as you have a space saving. So all this goes off, and even the cost, when you work out the cost for this total manpower and the rent to be paid to the space, all that gone now, and it is totally cost effective, and each bank is able to manage it in a better manner. Improved regulatory compliance, because whatever checks you get, the image is being captured, so that it is the record is very perfect, and we are answerable to any regulatory authority, so that we can just give this information to the people who may require this, so that we are able to comply with the regulatory requirements. Improved management information system, which will facilitate better decision making. So at a particular bank, you will come to know that what is the number of checks presented in a particular day, or how many checks are being presented for the whole month, what is the amount involved for settlement. All those information you can just pull out from the system, and it gives the entire information in a nutshell, so that the management information system is very useful to you, and this will help the bank to get the data, whatever data they want. Instead of sitting and collating the data manually by so many people, the present system, which definitely will help the bank to take whatever information they want through this particular management MIS, or other way we can call it as management information system.